I was 1,800 miles away when the call came in. It was a Tuesday morning, and I had just stepped out of a coffee shop in Colorado Springs. I was visiting my sister for her anniversary, taking a rare week off from the home renovation project I'd been immersed in back in Florida. My phone buzzed with a notification from my security system app, motion detected. That was normal. The house had some wildlife around it, and occasionally a raccoon or a bird would set it off. I might have ignored it altogether, if not for the sudden alerts that followed. Motion, drone activation, system recording. That was unusual. I opened the app and watched in disbelief. A bulldozer was rolling up my driveway. Men in hard hats and safety vests were standing on my lawn, which I'd just reseeded 2 weeks before. Unmarked black SUV idled near the mailbox. Then, a man in a navy blue polo shirt, with a HOA compliance officer printed on the back, stepped into frame and pointed at my house. I heard muffled audio from the drone's microphone. "Bring it down. We have authorization." I froze. What authorization? My house wasn't some crumbling shack. I had spent the last year renovating it myself, replacing the roof, redoing the siding, updating the plumbing, and even installing solar panels. Sure, it looked rough when I first bought it, an abandoned foreclosure with boarded windows and overgrown weeds, but I had poured time, money, and sweat into transforming it, and now they were tearing it down. I watched as the bulldozer revved and plowed into the front porch, sending a cloud of dust and debris into the air. My drone mounted under the eaves activated its auto patrol mode, a feature I'd set up for when I was traveling. It began circling the property. It's automatically recording and live streaming to my cloud backup. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Unbeknownst to the HOA, and honestly even to me until then, I had recently installed a new feature. In my security system that auto-notifies local authorities when major structural damage is detected on the property, I set it up as a test, thinking it was just a tech gimmick. Apparently it worked. 15 minutes into the demolition, with half the front wall collapsed and my living room exposed to the sun, 2 sheriff's deputies pulled up, sirens wailing. One of the workers gestured toward the HOA officer, as if to say, "This was your idea." The deputies approached cautiously, hands on holsters. The drone's mic picked up the conversation clearly. "Whose operation is this?" The HOA officer replied, confidently, "We're executing a compliance order. This property has been declared a community hazard." One of the deputies glanced at the house, then at the bulldozer, which had just taken out what used to be my kitchen wall. "And who authorized this demolition?" The officer handed him a clipboard with documents. I saw it clearly on the stream. The deputy flipped through the pages, then his brow furrowed. "This says you issued a fine, a notice of violation, not a court order or demolition warrant." "There were repeated warnings," the HOA officer said, his voice faltering slightly. "That may be," the deputy replied, "but you can't demolish private property without a judge's approval. It says criminal destruction of property." Almost dropped my phone. Criminal destruction. That's when the second deputy turned to his radio and began calling it in. Backup arrived shortly after 2 more cruisers, and then a black SUV from the sheriff's office. The drone, still circling, caught every minute of it. The HOA officer began sweating bullets when the deputies asked for identification, and asked the construction crew to shut everything down immediately. Meanwhile, I was frantically trying to get a flight back home when I finally got back to Florida the next day. The sight broke me. My house, the house I had rebuilt with my own hands, was a pile of wreckage. The roof had caved in, and only the back wall and chimney were still standing. My belongings were buried under splintered beams and torn insulation. The front door had been completely ripped from its hinges. Police tape circled the entire property, and a temporary barrier had been put up by the sheriff's office. I met the lead deputy that afternoon. He shook his head when he saw me. "I've seen some power-hungry HOAs in my day," he said, "but this one's about to get the book thrown at them." He explained that the HOA's demolition wasn't just unauthorized, it was illegal on several levels. No court order, no safety inspection, no notice served to me in person. It's just a series of angry letters and escalating fines that they claimed justified their actions. But the kicker? They had no idea the drone footage had been streaming everything, including audio, directly to law enforcement in real time. Honestly, the deputy said, that drone might have saved you a lawsuit. Now it's evidence. 2 weeks later, I was sitting across from an attorney in a downtown office. She was reviewing the footage, shaking her head as she took notes. "They're cooked," she said flatly. "You've got video, audio, timestamps, and police intervention, all on record. This isn't just negligence. It's malicious property damage. We're going to file civil charges, and I'll recommend the DA consider criminal charges as well." Nodded, still numb. "But why would they do this?" I asked. "Why now?" she shrugged. "Could be they didn't like you fixing up a house they wanted torn down. Could be personal. Some HOAs hate when someone doesn't fall in line. Either way, you're going to own them when this is over." Over the next few months, the story went viral. A local reporter picked it up first. Then national media caught on. Homeowners. "Drone captures HOA illegally bulldozing house." I was suddenly giving interviews explaining how my drone system had worked, warning others about rogue HOAs and fielding calls from lawyers, tech companies, even security firms. My GoFundMe, set up by a friend, exploded with support. Thousands of strangers donated to help me rebuild. Meanwhile, the HOA president and compliance officer were both arrested and charged with felony destruction of property and conspiracy to commit unlawful demolition. Their defense? We thought we had the authority. They didn't. The construction company that operated the bulldozer quickly settled out of court. Turns out they were misled by the HOA, shown falsified documents, and promised the job was fully legal. They provided sworn affidavits backing my case. That just added fuel to the fire. Eventually, the HOA board dissolved. Every member either resigned or was removed. The community voted to disband the organization entirely. And me. Well, I got enough in the settlement to not only rebuild my home but expand it. I added a workshop, a better surveillance system, and a second drone, just in case. Because if there's one thing I've learned, never watch the watchers, and never underestimate what one little drone can do when it's watching the right people at the wrong time.